Good evening and welcome to the February 19, 2024 meeting of the City of Tuscaloosa Planning and Zoning Commission. This meeting allows for alternative participation in order to accommodate all citizens. Any written comments sent to staff or forwarded to the commission directly. At this time, I'd like to introduce staff. Jimbo Woodson, Deputy City Attorney, Michael Garner, City Engineer, Zach Pons, Director of Planning, Haley Webb, Development Review Coordinator, Lily McIntyre, Special Projects Coordinator. There are 9 members of the Planning Commission, all of whom are appointed by the mayor for staggered terms with the exception of the City Council representative, who is appointed by the City Council. I ask the commission members to introduce themselves and state their occupation. Begin with Ms. Prince.
Dina Prince, attorney.
John Smith, Deputy Director, Environmental Services.
Tim Harrison, General Contractor.
Ann Hornsby, attorney.
Eddie Pugh, retired.
Bill Wright, business owner. There are sign-up sheets outside for public comment. 4 speakers are allowed to speak in favor of a petition, and 4 speakers are allowed to speak in opposition of the petition. All speakers will have a maximum of 5 minutes unless the commission allows to a longer time to speak. The commission will take up items in order of the final agenda. The commission will initially receive a presentation from the staff as to the details of the agenda item. Additionally, we may hear certain matters involving the same property currently, although we will take separate votes on each matter involving the same property. After the staff presentation, I will then call upon the petitioner to present their case. The petitioner will have a maximum of 10 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. At the conclusion of the petitioner's remark, we'll then call upon any party in order of signing up or otherwise who desire to support the position, and thereafter we'll call in order those who are in opposition to the petition. When it's your turn for comment, please introduce yourself, stating your name and address to the commission to provide. Be sure and make the comments at the podium, name and address for the record. Sorry about that. At the conclusion of the petitioner's remarks, we'll then call upon that person to address any items that were brought up that were not initially brought up in the first presentation. After receiving the remarks of those who oppose the petition will have the opportunity to respond to those objections. Any rebuttal will be limited to 2 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. If the petitioner presents any new information in response to the objections, we will allow those who oppose the opportunity to respond to the new information only. Any response will be limited to 2 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. During the course of the presentation, you may be interrupted by any member of the commission for clarification or additional information. Such interruptions will not reduce your allowed time limit. Once the commission members are satisfied they have received all relevant information, I will then close for further discussion by the public, at which time the commission members will discuss the matter and then vote. After the vote, you are free to leave. These proceedings are video recorded and broadcast live. All in-person public comments should be made at the podium into the microphone. Comments made by phone or virtually are video recorded through the conferencing application, so please, again, first state your name and address for the record. Jurisdiction. In all matters pertaining to subdivision regulations, approval of subdivisions within the city and its planning jurisdiction, and to amendments, planned unit developments, and located outside the city limits, this commission serves as the final authority. As to matters pertaining to historic buffer zone construction, our decision is subject to appeal to the City Council. As to all remaining agenda matters, including original zonings, rezonings, planned unit developments within the city, and street vacations, this commission serves as a recommending body to the City Council. In that regard, our decisions are in the form of a recommendation to be presented to the City Council, and the City Council will make the final decision on those matters. Subdivision approvals require the affirmative votes of 6 members of the Planning Commission. All matters which are recommendations to City Council require a majority vote for an affirmative recommendation. At this time, I would ask, do any members of the commission have any conflicts of interest as to any agenda matters before us tonight? If so, please state for the record. Having heard none, I would ask staff to confirm on the record that proper notice has been given to all parties in interest as required by law as to all matters before the commission tonight?
It has.
Okay, with that, we'll begin with approval of the minutes. As the Planning and Zoning Commission has received the synopsis of the January 2024 meeting, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the same unless there are any deletions, additions, or corrections. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Staff?
Good evening, Commission. We do have 3 items on the consent agenda. We didn't have anyone sign up to speak. Is there anyone here?
Would anyone care to speak for on an item on the consent agenda? We have 3 matters. Okay, having heard none, staff, Commission, I vote that we proceed with consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it.
Moving on, we do have 2 cases that are withdrawn. This was never brought before you as a presentation, but just for clarity, the Woodland Forest Glen PUD has been withdrawn. Moving into our cases to be heard, we'll begin with a preliminary plat that is S0524. This is the resurvey of lots 1R and 2R of the resurvey of Alabama Institutional Food Subdivision. This is a reconfiguration of 2 existing lots, and it's on approximately 10.9 acres located at 3933 Reese Pfeiffer Avenue and 2773 39th Street. This is in Council District 2. Here's our vicinity map. We are just south of 35th, towards the west side of town. This is the existing Pfeiffer and a truck work site. Again, this is a 2-lot subdivision, remaining 2 lots. Here's that plat without contours, and this is where the main change is happening. The line I just drew is 1 lot today. They would like to just move that line over where the blue and purple are now shaded. In doing that, they're requesting variances from lot configuration, drainage study, and sidewalks.
Any questions for staff? Engineering on the 3 variance requests?
We're okay with those waiver requests.
Thank you, sir. Petitioner?
Hansel Stewart with McGifford, yes.
Okay. Any additional comments you want to make about the request being made?
No, we don't have any other comments. I think she explained it fine.
Any questions of the commission, of the petitioner?
Are you doing this?
The potential for Pfeiffer, they're acquiring this, they've already acquired the old Alabama Institutional Foods, and they are interested in potentially looking at an access across from J.W. Cole Drive from their main plant, across Reese Pfeiffer Avenue.
And they don't want to cross that line.
Yes, right.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No one has signed to speak for or against, but anyone would care to speak for or against, please come forward. All right, having heard none, Commission, can you bring the variance request back up, please? Okay, thank you. Commission, before us, we have S0524, resurvey of lots 1R and 2R of the resurvey of Alabama Institutional Foods subdivision with 3 variance requests. Engineering has no issues with. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Hornsby?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion approved.
All right, next case, we have S0724, Infinity Point Subdivision. This is consisting of 9 lots and 4 sanitary disposal lots on approximately 34.5 acres located at and around 10757 Herman Boyd Road. This is not in city limits. Here is that vicinity map. So this is just before you cross the 69 North Bridge. It'll be on your right. And here is an aerial overview of the land we'll be looking at. And here is that plat with contours and without. So we'll start by zooming in at the southernmost portion, looking at these lots that are around the lake. This is to create 6 residential 1-acre lots that are lakefront. And then the yellow dashing that you see is the 300 setback for sanitary sewer. So zooming up, looking at the northern portion of this plat, you'll see 4 sanitary sewer satellite lots shown, coming in at just under half an acre. There are also some easements throughout this development that are being shown. And then looking over with the remainder, Lot 9, this has frontage on 69 North. And then looking at the variance request, they're requesting lot configuration. They're creating some flag-shaped lots with those lakefront frontage parcels. They're requesting cap sewer, half-street improvements, a lot size variance for those satellite lots. Since this is within the watershed, each lot is required to be at least an acre in size. And at the bottom of the screen is a letter that they received from AlDOT stating that sidewalks will not be required along the highway.
Engineering, I know we're going to talk more about this, and I think some of those in opposition have concerns or information requested for these variance requests. Can you kind of address those individually before just saying we approve all those? Can you go pull those back up? And, I mean, lot configuration is obviously one, but
Okay.
tell the audience why the cap sewer and half improvements, lot size, what your issues are or not with those.
All right, so let's talk first about cap sewer. Cap sewer is a condition in the subdivision regulations, and the purpose of it is to put a gravity sewer system in the ground ahead of street construction, so that in the future, when the city sewer system reaches that development, it can connect to the sewer without digging up the streets and tying on to the sewer. You know, the likelihood of sanitary sewer reaching this location ever is very minimal. So it's prudent, I think, to waive a costly requirement of the developer to install a cap sewer system that will probably never be used. Half-street improvements, this is a very low-volume area. We didn't get any comments from the county regarding this as well, with this road obviously being in the county. So engineering didn't have any objection to their request for a waiver of half-street improvements. Basically, what that means is they would widen the road and install curb and gutter or meet some street cross-section that the county provides in their regulations.
Commission, really quick, one thing that is missing from this PowerPoint that is in their variance request letter is a drainage study. They are requesting a variance from that as well. I'll go back and add that to this when I go back.
So the next request here is the lot size for satellite lots. Historically, you know, this is something that the county health department, environmental division has the final authority on. Satellite lot sizes for on-site sewage disposal systems. And it's been very common for developments around the lake to achieve the waiver for the 1 acre minimum when a lot is just specifically for the on-site sewage system. You'll notice on their preliminary plat, all the lots that touch the lake for residential development, they met that 1 acre minimum. So the other waiver request that OCE doesn't have an issue with is the request for a drainage study. If you'll put the map back up, I'll kind of address that in the particular areas. So you have the six, I think it was 6 parcels for residential use, and they all touch the lake. The runoff from those developments will increase somewhat based on the size of the house and the driveway, the impervious areas that'll be created with that development. There are minimal increases when you look at the, an acre lot and maybe a 3,000 square foot house footprint or whatever. The purpose of the drainage study is to look at what is the increased flow of the proposed development and how it might impact development, properties downstream, infrastructure downstream. So in this case, on those 6 particular lots, they drain directly to the lake. So it doesn't pass through another property owner. It doesn't pass through any storm sewer infrastructure. And the lake is, the size of the lake, this is just a minimal amount of increase, a negligible or immeasurable amount. The same goes for the 2 large lots. The expectation today is that those will be large lots with a single-family home. Lot 9 more than likely would drain directly into the lake as well. Lot 8, not knowing where the home would actually be built. And again, we're talking about a minor amount of increase for, I can't read it from here, what the acreage size is of that particular lot for one single-family home.
Is that lot 8 you have circled there? So like an example of lot 8, if the developer wants to come back at some other point and develop that lot, we'll have to go through this whole process again as far as drainage study and...
That is correct. If at some time in the future, Lot 8 was to be subdivided into multiple lots, meeting the criteria for, the 1 acre minimum, then it would be back before this board, and potentially there might be a need for a drainage study at that point in time.
I'm just curious. You said we've had these less than 1 acre satellite lots before for on-site sewage disposal. Should we consider putting something to address that in the ordinance? Or do we want to just leave it on a case-by-case basis? I mean, if it comes up, and I can remember, of course, having satellite lots. I don't remember specifically addressing any that were less than 1 acre. Or is it more on the backs of the health department to make that call?
So ultimately, the final decision rests with the health department. Potentially, one of these proposed lots may not meet the criteria that the health department standards are. If that's the case, then that lot size would have to be either enlarged to accommodate the special needs, or maybe even relocated in its entirety to an area, to a system, an area where the system would function properly.
And if that's the case, they'd have to come back before us, correct?
That is true, yes.
And Mike, even if we approve this tonight, we're not the final approval. The health department is the final approval on the septic system.
That's correct.
So we say the lots are big enough, they may not be big enough, and the health department will make them change them if they even use them at all.
Yeah, and also remind the members tonight that if this is approved as it's shown or with any conditions, then it will also come before the Office of the City Engineer for a land development permit. And at that time, there will be, engineering details on the force main systems that are going to be utilized to get to the satellite lots. There's improvements at the lower cul-de-sac that is just off of the screen there. Those items will all be addressed in our land development permit process.
Haley, scroll down to the cul-de-sac, please. I guess I can ask the engineer. Okay.
Any additional questions for staff?
And just to put this on the record, we did receive 3 letters in opposition to this case, and we received 1 in favor.
Correct.
So,
Okay, petitioner.
Good evening. I'm Tom Sims with Longleaf Engineering on behalf of the developer petitioner. I was prepared to talk mainly about the variance request, which I think Mike kind of went over pretty well there. One thing I will mention on the septic systems, that was a point of concern for us as well. Make sure we had adequate room. I know in years past, we've been involved with developments. I know some other ones where the 1 acre lot size was a combination of the house footprint, maybe near the lake, and then a satellite lot off the lake. After discussions with staff on this particular project, they said we were leaning more towards having all of them 1 acre, and that we'd need a variance for the satellite. But one thing to keep in mind is that the satellite lot will be tied to the actual main lot. It won't be available for someone to purchase as a separate lot in the future. Those run together. The satellite lots will always be tied together. And just as sort of maybe a perspective issue, the minimum size lot for health department in the state of Alabama is 15,000 square foot if you want to put a septic system lot on there. That also includes the house that could be put on there and all the other improvements. All 4 of our satellite lots are almost a half acre, 0.4 tenths, over 20,000 square feet apiece. So we sized them plenty large enough to accommodate, whatever should be coming as far as the house. You never know exactly how big those systems are going to be until the person, builds the house there. So, but they should have plenty of size. And we've done some preliminary soils testing out there. The soils all look good on site. We don't foresee any issues there at all either. So from that perspective, I think we're pretty much covered. Like Mike mentioned before, Ms. Haley, the only improvements we're proposing on the site as far as, infrastructure, we're widening the cul-de-sac to make sure it's fire department compliant. We'll be installing a water main system along the right-of-way, and then we're dedicating private easements for the force mains from the residences back to the satellite lots. We only show 4 satellite lots because 2 of the proposed lots in the lake have enough room outside the minimum 300-foot setback to put systems on their own lots. Those are lots 2 and 3 there on the right side of the page.
Show those lots. That's 2 and 3. So they meet the 300 feet.
Yes, sir. That's right, those 2 there.
So, Tom, you said you did some preliminary soil investigation. What did that entail?
We've done test pits and borings. We engaged a soil classifier who will actually be doing the permanent perk test and making the submittal package for the health department. We had him doing a preliminary investigation over the whole large parcel up there where these satellite lots were, just to make sure that we could select the optimum locations for these lots. And basically the whole area tested out the same.
So did you say you did some preliminary perk testing?
We did perk testing, actual perk test results on lots 2 and 3, and then did soil borings on the rest of the property to
Did you do any perk on the satellite lot?
Not actual perk tests, because we didn't know their exact locations yet. But those are scheduled this week.
Your cul-de-sac I'm looking at, you showed 2 different shades of gray. What is that?
The dark in the middle is the actual existing roadway. There's an existing cul-de-sac there, but it's not up to the proper standards.
Expansion of asphalt, it's not different material.
Correct, yeah, just gonna be asphalt. We just showed the difference in size of what we'll be putting in versus what's there now.
Are y'all doing any curbs?
No, sir, it's all
No
sort of
ribbon curbs, anything? No, it's gonna be
it's
just
just,
asphalt?
right, yes, sir. That's what's there now.
I have a question that's probably not relevant. I'm just curious because I've never seen this before. The owner is designated, of course, I know Joel Dora, but he is the accommodating or whatever title holder for Hackberry LLC. Why is that necessary?
I better let somebody else that knows more about that
I
answer
mean, I
that
don't
question.
know,
I had,
you know, it's
I
just-
actually
just curious.
explained it a little bit to me. Barry Burns is here. He certainly could answer that question.
The same question, Dana, and Chair, Vice Chair.
It is very unusual, but it's a like-kind exchange, but it's a reverse like-kind exchange. That's when you sell your property, no, let's see. You buy the property, replacement property, before you sell your property. So you have to have an accommodating title holder because you want to buy the property after the sale within the 180 days. So
Well,
that's how it
yeah.
works. And
Thank you.
Interesting. All right, Ms. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Sims? I think we got some folks in opposition, and we'll hear them out. You'll probably be back up to see us. All right. Mr. Harrison.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we had 3 people sign up. The first one is Mr. Joe Finley.
Hello, Joe Finley. I'm the adjoining, if you see it at the top right, that's the land that I'm owning. Just so you know, I'm downhill from where the septic lots are, so I'm a little concerned about what flows downhill, but that's a little bit of my concern. Also, while we've got that up, if you don't mind scrolling down a little bit and showing Heather Sanders' property, which is next to mine. That little inlet right there, there's a natural creek that comes out of the bed, you know, that's flowing very well, obviously flowing really well right now. And there's also a natural creek on the other side of the property by that lot number 7. You can see that up through there too. And one concern there with that lot number 7, what's drawn here is not what's currently marked on the property. I mean, my understanding, you don't normally mark this stuff till you get approval, but we've already got rebar marks in spots. And that lot number 7, the corner, the northwest corner of it is in the middle of the creek. I mean, I got pictures of that. It's sitting right in the middle of that creek. Again, another natural flowing creek. The big thing we talked about tonight is a master plan. You know, we don't know. And we're saying this road's unused. It's like, currently it's like 7 or 8 houses use that county road, Lunsford Road and Boyd Road. We're adding 7 more here. And it's the unknown on what we're gonna do with lots 8 and 9. It was good to hear that whatever happens there, they have to come back through this process again if they subdivide. I mean, we would love it to be one landowner, but it may not be. So the concern's been about the density. Again, we're trying to squeeze as many lots as we can around that point. Lot number 7, another issue with it, it is a very deeply wooded ravine down to that creek. You know, it's on the side of a hill. And again, it just seems like it's too dense. We're trying to get too many lots in this one area. It's some beautiful property. I'm not going to deny that, but we're concerned about the density of it. Lot 7, those concerns I have with that one. The on-site sewage, prior, when I sent my email to you guys last week, you know, I hadn't seen any signs of perk test or nothing going on. There was some excavation done Friday, I think. It didn't look like a perk test, but there may be new ways of doing that this day and time versus when I done it as well. So the master plan, again, that was a concern. We would love to see what that's going to be future. It talks about underground utilities and all. I'm assuming we're not talking about underground electrical. I mean, it just says electrical and plumbing, telephone will be, water will be underground, but I don't know that, so it doesn't clarify the power. And again, if we knew what the future use was, and do we need to be concerned of the traffic tripling or something? You know, that's, you know, what can they do? Because they've got about 25 acres there that's not being developed out of the original parcel that was here. So it's just a large unknown there. Another concern I have with this drawing, I mean, that 300-foot line, that I don't know if this was actually done, and the engineers can tell us, you know, was this done, you know, with actual on the ground, boots on the ground, or did we just use aerial photos? Because the 300-foot line around my property does not follow that contour, I can tell you that. So I don't know why it circles around like that, because otherwise my septic would need to be up in that pasture. So that's my big concerns.
You remove the markings there, the red markings? So the 300-foot is going to follow the actual water line, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can see how that is coming up because of that creek.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for this person in opposition? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next person is signed up, Ms. Heather Sanders.
Hello, all. I'm going to read, since I'm timed. My name is Heather Sanders. I am an adjoining property owner at 10805 Lunsford Road. I'm directly downhill as well from those 4 septic systems of unknown size, requested to be on 1.6 of an acre, that the standard is 4 acres, which flows towards the lake, as we know, and I'm also next to the 6-acre tract of land with no listed intended use, so because there's no master plan or comprehensive plan that is given. The total unaccounted for land is over 20 acres, and I thought that would require, based on the rules and regulations, a master plan, and according to your rules. Therefore, I'm here to oppose this preliminary plat as is, and my justification is the rules and regulations that you, the commission, and other city leaders have put forth in 3 governing documents. Now, I was told, I have the subdivision regulations that you guys have, all of those, your city ordinances as number 2, and then I found online the framework, which is the Lake Conditions 101, and Haley said that wasn't in place yet, but dated when you Google it online is October 25th, 2018. And if those would be the standards at which would take place when these people get developing anyway. So according to 3 rules and regulations of your governing documents, these standards are set, as it says, to protect the environment and to guide with policies that would be beneficial to Lake Tuscaloosa and our community. All 3 in some way say there should be some type of master comprehensive plan. They all 3 say a drainage study or erosion control plan, or even a site stabilization plan, because that is a heavily wooded ravine as part of that development, and I have pictures of that, that flows right into the lake. And the density proposed without even proper safeguards is completely irresponsible as is, but we don't even know the true density, what it will be at the completion of this subdivision, because they haven't, they failed to include that master plan. And with your minor subdivision rules, in which I found, this development doesn't, the way it reads, doesn't have to come back before you, a way that your minor subdivision rules say. So that would not just have minor effects on our lake, but major negative effects on the environment of Lake Tuscaloosa. All 3 documents also state in some form the on-site septic tank should be on 1 full acre. And actually, your new framework does state that no satellite lots should be on the lake without a variance. But once again, how could you grant a variance for that without knowing the comprehensive plan? What size will they be? How many more lots or how many more satellite lots will be producing affluents or whatever you call that? Because this is an uphill pump, so power goes out. What kind of mess will you have up there? And all of these are negative effects on our environment. So based on your standards, this preliminary plat does not provide safeguards for preventing the negative effects on our lake, the environment in general, and the surrounding property. As your regulations read, variances shouldn't be granted if it nullifies the intent and purpose of the regulation. So there's no hardship here. I don't see a hardship. There's plenty of land. They're just choosing to use that small amount of land, and that is just to recklessly cram as many lots as possible, which is a complete disregard to all of your regulations. And that doesn't sound like a justification for granting a variance for a drainage study or the septic tank's lot size. So I'm just asking you, the commission, and our leaders to protect and to guide in accordance with your regulations and policies that you have created, and you have set the standards. So these standards, these standards do matter to the environment and to the integrity of Lake Tuscaloosa. And I just ask you to do the right thing and not approve the subdivision as is. I'm not saying not to survive whatsoever, but the heavily wooded lots, I tried to get that in my time frame. So the pictures don't really show the creek bed that's up through there, the amount of wooded area, and you're going to have to clear that. And that is the sediment and when you say minute, that's uphill. That's at least 30 feet or 20. At least I know that the septic tank lots are at least 20 feet of an elevation higher than me. So, and then all of that groundwater comes right between, as Joe Finley and I said, there's a little inlet, and that's where all of that water comes to. And it just gets stagnant down, right there in the lake. So when you add that much more sediment, I just think there should be, I know we're all trying to preserve and protect Lake Tuscaloosa for the future, I just think it makes sense to not grant a variance for things that could be harmful to the lake. And where the Lot 7 stake is right in the middle of a creek bed. I mean, it's really, that's, if you start to clear this, you're. Yeah, I kind of argue with the setback lines as well.
Back to the microphone so we can hear you.
That's just some pictures of the way that looks. So anyway, I had those printed off. Joe is up there daily and he sees the amount of water that runs off. He's the caretaker, has been, of cutting the grass and whatnot. I just think there needs to be a little closer look at the effects this is going to have on Lake Tuscaloosa. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Chairman, last person we have signed up is Mr. Scott Sanders.
Don't start my time yet, because I got a question. We talked over and over several times about, one, we don't have the master plan, but I think you've mentioned, and you mentioned to me that if they come back and want to do anything with Lot 5, or the 5 acres where the tanks are, you said they have to come to you.
So
Are we 100% sure about that?
we cannot approve an administrative subdivision that has a variance request. They're going to be asking for cap sewer no matter what in this location, which would be a variance request. It's going to come back to the commission.
It's going to come back. So the fact that that is in the county and not in your planning jurisdiction, I mean, not in your, in the police jurisdiction or anything else, you're telling me 100%, if they want to do anything with that 5 acres, they got to come see you.
If they want to subdivide that land.
Excuse me?
If they would like to subdivide that land.
So
yes,
the
sir.
part in here where it says that when you're touching the lake is not really accurate. I mean, in other words, if you're close to the lake, maybe. Which, I mean, I'm trying to find
in
out
the
which it
watershed,
is.
the Tuscaloosa watershed.
So anything within the watershed, they got to come up here and see you guys.
If these are subdivided, they will come up to see us, yes.
Anything in the Tuscaloosa water, in the lake.
I don't know
Tuscaloosa
how much clearer I can make it, sir.
Excuse me?
I don't know how much clearer I can make it, what I can say
got it.
otherwise.
I mean, that's what we needed to know. Okay.
Name and
go.
address for the record.
Excuse me?
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry, Scott Sanders, up by the lake, by these guys. I'm just focused on the master plan, but it looks like we're not going to get that.
So regarding the master plan, just to clarify that, it's if you have 20 acres outside of what you are currently subdividing,
Yeah.
we would require a master plan. That is not the case in this situation.
not the case? I mean,
Because they do not own the
there's
Sir, I'm
18
trying to
acres.
answer the question.
Oh.
They do not have property that they own outside of what they're subdividing currently today. Therefore, there's not 20 acres outside of this amount of land that is coming forward today.
Who owns it? So the person that owns the part you want to develop owns the 18 acres and the 5 acres?
They do not own outside of this subdivision more than 20 acres.
Who owns this? I mean, if the person that owns
Let me jump in.
Excuse me?
The 20 acres that you're referring to is the big lot that has frontage on 69?
Yeah.
And
The 5 acres.
the 5 acres. They are a part of this plan. They have a lot number on them.
Okay.
And right now, all we know is that they're allowed to put one single-family
Yeah,
resident
you
on
mentioned
those
that
large
earlier.
lots.
Right.
So there is no master plan
Okay.
needed
So-
because this is all they have.
So if they want to come back and divide, say, the 5 acres up into half-acre lots, they got to come see you.
Yes, sir.
Do they have the same requirement of the 1 acre that you require on the lakefront?
1 acre minimum in the watershed of Lake Tuscaloosa.
In the watershed, okay, good deal. All right, the 1 acre seems to be real important, and so, my issue is either the 1 acre needs to be revisited for the size, or either 0.4 acres for a septic tank's not nearly big enough. So, I mean, those really conflict if you say, hey, we want 1 acre, and you specifically want 1 acre in that watershed to accommodate the sewer system, but yet we're gonna put 4.4 acre lots in the watershed with sewer. So one of those two numbers is off. So I would think that, you know, since the 1 acre is important, we need to probably would look at that and want to have the full 1 acre lot that's for the water, for the septic systems. Also on those two lots that are on the lake, they want to do shallow systems, shallow sewer systems, obviously meaning right at the surface. And I would think that you'd want to really study that real well as far as approving that, because obviously that's directly above the lake. But we are below the lake, and we don't know what they're going to do with the other lot, other than we could get more septic tanks above us right there. And it just looks to me like when people look at this project and say, you know, if we got to do this, this, and this, does it work? And if they're able to come, if you're able to come and just, you know, and I don't mean this to sound the wrong way, but if you're able to variance your way out of spending any money, you know, that's something you'd love to know beforehand. But that's really all I've got. I just, the sewer system, the sewer needs to be addressed because we've got that wet weather stream. I said wet, I call it wet weather. It runs year round. So there's some water running right between Joe and our property, and it's coming from somewhere. And if we put a whole bunch of septic on top of it without knowing whether it's getting to that spot, then every bit of that's going to be in the lake. And I'm thinking that that's the whole objective to all these rules, is to protect that lake. But that's all I've got. Thank you.
Mr. Sims, you would like to come back up and address some of the concerns you might have heard before us tonight? I'm not sure how much communication, interaction you've had with those in opposition, but.
Sure. Barry can probably talk about that a lot more. I think he has been having some conversations. But I'll just say very quickly that, you know, as far as the septic systems are concerned, obviously they'll meet all the requirements necessary. They'll meet the same. They'll actually probably meet, you know, higher standards than when a lot of the lake systems that are there now. The rules and regulations have evolved over the years, and so we have full confidence that each of those systems has plenty of room. You know, I'd mentioned this to the guys earlier. I said, you know, the size of your satellite lot, your septic lot, really has no bearing on the system itself. That satellite lot is oversized to accommodate not one but two systems from the house, because you have to have a replacement field along with your primary field. So they're certainly large enough, and even if those were 5 acres apiece, the size of the septic system's not changing, the location of that septic system is not changing, but they will be meeting all the rules and regulations from the health department.
I guess I wanted to speak to the lots, and Heather and I are friends. We've spoken at least 4 times on the phone about this, including the day I got the contract, 4 that I remember, maybe 5. I have said all along, the goal would be to sell the small lot to Heather. She has asked for the opportunity to buy that. And that has always been my goal. I couldn't sell it or have a contract without knowing I had septic approval for lake lots, because I've got to have that to have the lake lot. And so some of the things we did there are evidence there. We tried to push the satellite up to, you know, if we wanted to develop that, that would be a nice place for actual lots where those satellite lots are. I wanted to push them up to that road, saying, I'm not going to put lots there. I want to push them away from those neighbors. Heather also mentioned that if they owned it, they would like to drive in Herman Boyd Road, go straight into that field, and have their own private entrance there. So I told the engineers, don't block that road. Another thing I would say about the field, I was up there yesterday. If you're in that field, it looks very level up there where those satellite lots are. But when I look at any sort of elevation, to me, it looks like it drains down to Mrs. Boyd's house, what you see in the shadow down. it doesn't look like it goes to the east there, to me. You know, the density, I think we met the minimum standards. I think there would be very nice lots. And I would just say that I feel like we've done everything city staff has asked. Fire wanted a fire hydrant down there. We said, yeah, we'll take a 6-inch line down there, fire hydrant. Want to increase the cul-de-sac, we'll do that, fire rating. So we've tried to follow everything we've asked to do, so I'd ask for your support on the project. Any questions about it?
Engineering, I mean, you're kind of the final stamp approval for most of this stuff. What you're hearing between concerns of those in opposition and Mr. Sims, engineer of record here, what, you kind of shed some light from your perspective on anything new?
Well,
other than what you've already told us?
let me touch on a couple of things that were mentioned. The drainage area between the Sanders lot and the Finley lot, we're talking about that being a groundwater maybe permeating out of the ground. I was going to ask the question, is there a storm drain that carries the water underneath the road to this natural area, or is it truly just surface water and maybe groundwater? Don't really need to know the answer, but I was curious about that. The concern with
Answer that, if it was answered. It is groundwater, there's no storm.
Okay, thank you. So, again, we rely on, or I won't say that we rely on, but the health department's requirements for on-site systems at Lake Tuscaloosa is pretty stringent. You know, the things that the system has to be placed or designed around are called restrictive layers, and that includes rock and groundwater. So if there is groundwater that's close to the surface, it's going to be a challenge for the placement of the systems. And that's Tom's responsibility, basically working with the health department on how that is accomplished. So there was a comment about Lot 7 and the steepness. There was also comments by Ms. Sanders about sediment runoff. I mentioned earlier that the development plan will come to the Office of the City Engineer for approval in the form of a land development permit. I guess it's been about a year now that we have changed our ordinance and instituted a policy that land disturbing activity that touches the lake, we require the developer to provide a siltation bond. That bond is based on the amount of disturbed area. The minimum amount the bond can be is $10,000, and the maximum amount of that bond is $200,000. The developer will post a bond based on the amount of disturbed area proposed, and we will hold that bond. We use that bond to hopefully guarantee compliance with stormwater regulations for best management practices to prevent sediment to the lake. It also gives us an enforcement arm to ask the developer to remove any sediment that accumulates in the lake. And if they do not comply with that, then we have the enforcement of the bond where we can call the bond and perform the work ourselves.
Like, how long do we hold that bond?
We hold that bond until the site is stabilized. There is not a period of time. If it takes a year for this site to grow grass and become stabilized, we'll hold the bond that long. Subsequently, when each one of these homes are built by the individual purchaser of those lots that touch the lake, they'll have a bond themselves while that house is actively under construction as well.
Tom, I got a question for you on this picture here showing that pin in Lot 7 in the creek bed. Is that?
Zach, is there any way that you could enlarge the plat so that we can, I mean, I'm confused about lot numbers. because I just can't see it on mine oh, good, great, thank you. Lot 7 is there.
This one is lot
And
7.
where is lot 1? Which one is lot?
Lot 1's above where it says phase 1.
Oh, okay, got it, thank you.
So Tom, back to this 10, where is that exactly on this?
So right, that is probably that far north corner there of lot 7. It's not unusual for a property boundary to follow a creek line or something like that, so that's, that doesn't surprise me that that's where that corner ended up.
Is that the corner, or do you think that's just the property line running through that creek, that area?
I think what that is, if on the drawing you're looking at, the far north side of the page, I think it's that corner right there at the very tip top there on the
You
northwest.
circle that, Haley?
They had just circled it.
Yes. I think that's what you're looking at there.
Okay. That's where I posed earlier that I said that corner does not go up that far. What's showing on this drawing?
Well, just hold tight. You can't speak without the microphone, so we can bring you back up, but just if y'all want to address it.
But I guess regardless, I know they had mentioned there was some property white stakes and that sort of thing. We had the surveyor come out there and do some temporary boundary stakes on all these lots just to get a visual of how they laid and make sure that they were, we were providing good buildable areas for the future houses and that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, most of those stakes are going to have to be removed because we did shift some property lines on this drawing that you're looking at based on what we saw on the ground. So those are not final out there, but this plat would be.
That one looks pretty permanent with that pin and the yellow cap on it, right? So I think I would make sure we know where that property line is.
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying and what that pin shows.
Sure.
So, Burns, what you said you talking about selling one of the lots? Which lot were you?
Oh, I think what's it called, Lot 8, the small field. Heather has always wanted to buy the small.
Up north.
It's the one by the satellite lots. We had to use Lot 8.
Okay.
It adjoins their property. I have no plans to develop that. I would prefer to sell it to the neighbors.
So they talk about a master plan, and obviously we feel like it's not warranted here. What is your plans for the remainder of the property? Do you have plans? I guess
the hope was to sell 8 to the neighbors. That's the hope. The large field, I don't have a plan. Ideally, I'd like to sell it.
What about the property?
As a lot. I'm sorry?
What about the property on the other side to the south, I guess that'd be to the south of the.
Lot 9?
Lot 9, yeah.
Okay, Lot 9, I would like to sell it as Lot 9. That would be my preference. I have no plans for it now. I could use it personally. My lake house is 2/10 of a mile further down, very close. I may want it personally, but ideally, I'd like to sell it. I don't have any plan.
And it has lake access, I guess, through that.
It does. It backs the back of the slough. It could be, somebody could, you could put lake lots there. There's just so many things. I bought this property in December, and the lake lots, to me, it was clear that's the highest and best use. A 19-acre field at the back of the slough, I'm not sure it's clear what the best use of that property is. I don't have that answer, what it could or should be.
Mike, part of your.
But I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, but if something did come up, it would have to come before you for a subdivision unless it was used as a lot, just like that.
One of the, I've tried to make notes, and underground utilities, is that everything or everything but power?
Everything but power. The power now currently is, I don't recall exactly where it was at.
The power is down there. I assume that was from the pole to the house is what we're talking about.
Right, yeah. I
That we
think-
would go underground to the houses. That's what I assumed that meant.
It's already done at the cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah, there's an existing house, down there.
So Mike, part of your LDP process, you will, obviously you talked about the erosion control and the siltation bond, but you also review water runoff and water quality issues due to this water runoff, correct?
It'll be a part of the LDP application as well, that they'll need to address stormwater volumes and particularly water quality as well.
And along with this erosion control plan with the LDP, the engineer has submitted you an erosion control plan.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That they've got to go by.
that's correct.
Let's see, what other questions are there? Density, how about that? Plans for the. Okay.
I have one more question. Just, again, curiosity. Why do we have the 1 acre satellite minimum if, in fact, size is not the be-all to end-all?
The best way I know to answer this question is throughout my entire career in private practice, the developments that I did around the lake, the satellite lots as proposed here were never required to meet a 1 acre minimum. If that's an interpretation that the planning department has made from the subdivision regulations, then and a variance is required, then I support that. But we have historically approved developments around the lake where a satellite lot is required, that you can't place the on-site system on the lot the house is going to be because you can't get enough area outside the 300-foot setback. So the lots that they are proposing, I tend to agree with Tom's statement that they're more than adequate for the on-site systems that will serve a single-family home. Bear in mind, the 2 lots that are proposed in Phase 2, the on-site system will be on that 1 acre lot because there's room beyond the 300-foot setback to place them there.
And this is my problem, because I can't really grasp why we don't have to have a master plan for this. Because when I look at this, it just seems like all of this property is within this subdivision, and it's over 20 acres. So review me again on why that's not a requirement this time.
So
And
all the land
scoot it
that
over for me,
all the-
Haley or Zach. Can you scoot the map over so I can see all of it?
all the land that this gentleman owns is shown on this plat. All of the property that he owns to develop in this area is shown and he's presented. What makes it look different from what we normally see are the 2 large lots. Lot 9, almost 6 acres, Lot 8, and then Lot 9 is what, 16, 17 acres or something like that? So that's what makes it look out of the ordinary from what you normally see. But the master plan requirement is to show what a developer or owner intends to do with all of his property. And they have met that with this submission.
Like in the past, when we have required a master plan, it will be on like 30, 40 acres that then have phases worked in. Is that,
So in theory, this could be 100 acres that we're looking at now. And if they had 20 additional acres, we would require a master plan that they owned outside of the subdivision. This essentially is their master plan. Their master plan for this property is to keep these 2 lots very large and undeveloped.
got it. Thank you, sorry.
No, you're good.
one of the things Ms. Sanders brought up was framework, and unfortunately, we're not there and haven't got it adopted yet. I think there have been discussions within the framework umbrella that we look at, obviously, protecting Lake Tuscaloosa and where we're moving forward and how we do that. That's one of our biggest natural resources, and we're serious about it. We have to weigh, the commission has to weigh what requirements we require a developer to bring before us, and what we need to make an approval, and how we try not to impact that developers, make him spend a lot of money to bring a plan up here for us to approve, knowing that you've got some other hurdles you've got to go through, like LDP process, like the health department process. You know, I think, again, this is a good, I hate to be the litmus test for development also, where they bring it up here, seeing if it'll work or left or right, and then have to go get the various approvals that they probably won't get because of the health department, or probably might not get because they won't meet the requirements of the LDP. I think in the future, and we need to take a long, hard look at what we require on a submission process to bring before us, especially where it's concerned with Lake Tuscaloosa. That's what we're trying to protect. I mean, there's some things that you know might not need to be approved on the lake that can be approved in other places because of sewer access and things like that. So, I don't know if I said anything.
Well, is there any more questions for the petitioner? It's here in front of us now. We can get our comments after we close, but is there any additional, or do you care to raise anything, new information that you heard from those in opposition?
All good.
Let me ask you a question. The 4 satellite lots. You said you wanted to sell lot 8 or whatever that is to the neighbors. What if you made those satellite lots larger? I mean, if you're gonna sell it and you're not gonna develop it, you're coming closer to meeting the requirements the city's asking for, and you've got bigger satellite lots and they buying property that's not gonna be developed anyway.
I know things slip through the cracks, and I actually heard a story about this a day or two ago. With 1 acre lot being the minimum in the watershed, if those lots were 1 acre, who's to say 20 years down the road somebody doesn't slip through and actually sell that lot as a platted lot? You know, I mean, there should be restrictions in place.
Worry about that 20 years from now.
Well, I just devil's advocate on, you know, why you wouldn't want them bigger. And again, the point that I was making a while ago was, you know, regardless of the size of the satellite lots, the systems won't be any bigger. You know, and when you combine the lot at the lake and the satellite lot, those lots are 1.5 acres or so roughly. The other lots that don't have to conform to the 300-foot setback where they have enough room on their lot, those are only 1 acre lots. So in reality, they're, you know, 50% bigger when you combine both of them than the other lots.
So, Tom, are the satellite lots, Mike, I'm going to ask both of y'all, are the satellite lots platted with the lots themselves?
They are platted, and typically the lot numbers are the same. Like you'd have Lot 4 and then Lot 4S, which stands for satellite. They're connected in title and can never be severed. And there's a note on the plat, and typically in the covenants, that you can't use Lot 4S for anything but on-site sewage disposal.
Does the legal description for Lot 4S include Lot 4, or is included Lot 4?
Yeah, it would, the legal,
It's all one legal.
yeah, it would be Lot 4 and Lot 4S of the name of the subdivision, yeah.
Any other questions for petitioner? Thank you. I don't think any new information was raised by their comments. Unless somebody disagrees, then that would open it back up to those who are in opposition. Right? Did y'all hear anything new that? Okay. All right. With that being said, we'll close the public comment and talk amongst ourselves. Any comments from commission?
We just got a rule that says the lot's supposed to be an acre. Now, I understand that in the past, I guess y'all or we have approved them smaller than that, but like Mr. Harrison said, my main concern is the lakes for water first and everything else second. We never built another house up there, that'd be okay too, because that's water. But if we're not gonna require an acre, we should look at framework and reword that somehow, because we're telling people you can do something, and then we turn around and do something else. And then my question goes back to, if he's not gonna develop lot 8, make those lots bigger and come closer to meet the requirements and try to make everybody as happy as you can, which they're not gonna be.
I agree with what you're saying about the concern about the lake. You know, the thing I heard was, and Mr. Sims said this, is that obviously the state health department and the county health department regulates these septic systems. And I'm quite sure they've gotten better over time, and he's probably right about how they're far better than they were when the lake was built many years ago. I kind of agree with you on the fact that, you know, these systems only require 15,000 square feet, and we're requiring, and a half an acre is 20,000 square feet, and why do we, I mean, if you're a developer, you're going like, that's half an acre that I'll lose the ability to do something with, or a potential home site for someone else. So I do think what was being raised here, we definitely want to address this during framework. I think it's kind of overkill, really, my opinion on that. Yeah. Anyone else want to make any?
Well, I was just going to, thank the people in opposition for coming up and giving us good information. I think that helps all of us, reach a good decision, and I'm glad we've had this back and forth and explanation from the staff, because we need a review of it ever so often. And I'm looking at all these variance requests, and y'all, we grant these variance requests every month. There's not a planning and zoning commission meeting that we have that we don't grant some or nearly all of these variances, because every piece of property, every development is different. And there are all sorts of factors that we try to look at to make a decision that's best for everybody concerned. So, we've got precedent, whether it's good or bad, it's there. Whether we've granted variances or not granted variances. I mean, I'm a big believer in trying to treat everybody equally. And if we have given something to one developer in the past with the same or similar circumstances, I feel that is, kind of restricts me in what I want or can do. I have property on the lake too, so I, of course, want to maintain the integrity of the lake, especially as our prime source of our drinking water. But I do think there are safeguards in place that can hopefully satisfy some of the items that were brought up by the people who oppose it. And hey, if I had property right by it, I would be opposing it too. So, we want to protect what's ours, and that's just the way it is. So.
Any other comments from commission? Okay, having heard none, commission, before us we have preliminary plat S0724 Infinity Point subdivision with 5 variance requests. Engineering has, I think, clearly stated the acceptance of those variance requests. So do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second?
Ms. Prince?
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion approved.
right, Commission, moving on to our last case of the evening. We do have one annexation request.
Can we close the door, please?
Alrighty. Next, we have AN 0124. This is a request to annex approximately 1.58 acres located at 11201 Watermelon Road. Here is that vicinity map. We are going up north on Watermelon. And here is the existing city limits shaded in yellow with the red boundary, or the dashed red boundary. The red boundary on the right is the requested home to be brought into limits. Again, this is on 1.58 acres in total. They're requesting to annex in for city schools. This is part of our secondary expansion area when looking at framework areas for our growth priority. And then reaching out to other city departments, there were no issues with this request.
Thank you. Petitioner.
Good afternoon. My name's Isaac Falls, and I'm looking to annex into the city limits.
What's that address for the record, please?
11201 Watermelon Road.
Okay, thank you.
Looking to annex 1.5 acres, 5/8 acres into the city limits for the schools. It's just closer for our home. My wife, she's a stay-at-home mother, to go to Rock Quarry, carry our child there versus having to come all the way into town.
Any questions for the petitioner? Thank you, sir. Okay, Commission, we got an annexation request, 0124, annexing 1.5 acres located 11201 Watermelon Road. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Welcome to the city.
All right, and then really fast, we'll see you all again here next week, next Wednesday. We'll be going over the West Tuscaloosa zoning map, updated changes. Then here is the rest of that calendar, hopefully wrapping us up in July to take a recommendation to City Council. And then as always, you can provide comments through framework.tuscaloosa.com if you want to review the map and leave some comments or come in and chat with us. Love to see you.
Are we getting any comments from that area?
We have
Have y'all
3
seen
so
any out
far.
yet?
Yeah, 3 comments have been made.
Are you gonna send those out,
I'm pretty sure,
Did
yeah.
I miss it?
No, you haven't
No,
missed
no.
it. You haven't missed it.
And we've been meeting with,
Group a bunch of them up.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've been meeting with some people and, kind of collecting, I'm sure more will come in based off of our conversations that we've been having, but we've been kind of meeting with kind of groups within the area and
Have
hearing.
we had any other people decide what other people that they own property should be?
I don't believe so, no.
Good.
We'll send you a summary before Wednesday. But that's all we have for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.